Building daily wealth habits. Small shifts create lasting change. Welcome to Module 4, Building Daily Wealth Habits. If there's one principle I want you to walk away with, it's this. Wealth doesn't come from one lucky break, a single high-paying client, or even a sudden inheritance. Those things can help, yes, but they don't last without the right foundation. Wealth comes from small choices, repeated consistently, every single day. Think about this. Imagine two people. The first wins the lottery. Overnight, they have more money than they've ever dreamed of. But within a few years, statistics show that most lottery winners are broke again. Why? Because their daily habits didn't support keeping and growing money. Their old patterns of spending, fear, or avoidance simply repeated themselves, only on a bigger scale. Now, picture the second person. They don't have a huge income. In fact, they might be earning a modest salary. But they've built consistent habits, saving a percentage of every paycheck, practicing gratitude for what they already have, reviewing their spending, and making small but steady investments. Over time, their money grows. Not overnight, not instantly, but steadily, predictably, almost automatically. Here's the truth. Your daily habits determine your financial future more than your income, your background, or even your luck. Habits are the true wealth builders. They're the foundation that supports abundance. And today, we're going to uncover how to start creating daily habits that lead to long-term freedom. Habits greater than motivation. Consistency beats intensity. Let's get clear on why habits matter more than motivation. Motivation is like a spark. It feels exciting in the moment. It gets you moving, but it fades quickly. You've probably experienced this before. Maybe you started a budget with enthusiasm for a week. Maybe you tried to save aggressively for a month. And then, life got busy, energy dipped, and the motivation disappeared. Habits are different. Habits are like a slow-burning fire that keeps going day after day, even when you don't feel motivated. Habits don't depend on your mood, your energy, or your excitement level. Once they're built, they run almost automatically. Wealthy people don't rely on bursts of motivation. They don't sit around waiting for inspiration to strike. Instead, they design their lives around supportive habits that lock in their financial success. Think about compound interest. You put a small amount aside, and over time it grows into something massive. Habits work the same way. A small daily action, repeated consistently, compounds into extraordinary results. And here's the key. Intensity doesn't matter nearly as much as consistency. Saving $5 every single day is more powerful than saving $500 once and then giving up. Journaling one gratitude entry daily reshapes your brain far more than a burst of positive thinking once a month. So, here's the principle to remember. Consistency beats intensity. Habits beat motivation. Case example. David. From Overspending, Mindful Routine. Let me share the story of David. For years, David was caught in a cycle of overspending. Every time he got a paycheck, it felt like freedom. He'd celebrate with dinners out, buy things he didn't need, and by the end of the month, he was broke again. David told himself what many people believe. I just need to earn more money. If I made more, this problem would go away. But the truth? No matter how much he earned, the money slipped through his fingers. Then something shifted. He committed to a single new daily habit. Reviewing his expenses for 5 minutes at the end of each day. At first it was uncomfortable. He didn't want to face the truth of how much he was spending, but he stuck with it. Soon, he began noticing patterns. He realized he was overspending when he was stressed. He noticed how many subscriptions he wasn't even using. He saw the emotional triggers behind his purchases. David added one more habit: gratitude. Each evening after reviewing his expenses, he wrote down one thing he was grateful for in his current financial life. Sometimes it was small, like being grateful he could pay his rent on time. Other times it was about appreciating the simple things money allowed him to enjoy. Over time, these habits reshaped not just his wallet, but his identity. He no longer saw himself as someone bad with money. He saw himself as someone in control, someone capable, someone growing. Within a year, David saved more money than he had in the previous 5 years combined. That's the power of habits. One small shift, repeated consistently, can transform your entire financial trajectory. Reflection. Identify one weak habit. Now it's time to turn inward. Grab your workbook. I want you to think of one money habit that's hurting you right now. Maybe it's impulse spending. Maybe it's avoiding your budget. Maybe it's procrastinating on paying off debt. Write it down. Be honest. Don't judge yourself. Just capture it on paper. Once you've named the habit, write an arrow next to it and ask yourself, what's one small new habit I can put in its place? For example, old habit, impulse spending on lunch every day. New habit, packing lunch twice a week. Old habit, ignoring credit card balances. New habit, checking my account every morning for 2 minutes. Remember, the shift doesn't have to be huge. In fact, the smaller and simpler the new habit, the more likely it is to stick. Awareness is always the first step. Today, you've taken that step by identifying the habit that no longer serves you. Next, you'll begin designing the wealth habits that will build your future.